fucking Markcast!
Oh, man.
Hey, Fabio, where are we again?
On the set of the Is for Fun podcast, a podcast that is for fun. How are you guys doing? You missed us? Of course you did. We're your favorite group of guys. Hi. I'm Fabio.
We'll take second favorite.
No, we won't.
You're
Hey,
right.
if we're your second favorite guys,
Let's just leave.
don't even bother.
Go fuck yourself.
I'm Sam.
I'm Tommy.
Yeah, we're vibing out. We got Markcast this week. It's good times.
It's Saturday night. We are hanging out. Having a good old time. Going to talk about some good old things.
Good old things.
If you're listening on the audio, we just want to do another reminder that we have a YouTube channel where we're uploading content that is not just podcasts. So check us out by the same name as For Fun Podcast, youtube.com.
The link is also in our banner in the description below as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you take us away, Fabio. You
Oh,
said you would
shit.
open
Yeah,
this
you
week,
wanted to
right?
start us out, right?
All right. Okay. All right.
You looked at me in the soul of my eyes when we were eating food before this, and you were like, I am starting this one. Don't you dare think about starting it. I am going to start it. And so far, you've been doing a 6.5, 7 out of 10 job.
Do you agree with that nonsense? 6.57? I said greatest, most
Here's the
favorite,
thing.
tist.
You definitely like held Tommy at like literal gunpoint when we were eating food earlier, and you're like, I'm starting this.
True.
I think it was kind of like, may I demonstrate?
Yeah, don't go for it.
I'm starting this motherfucking podcast, and if I don't, then I'm gonna fucking carve your face off with a goddamn razor blade and eat it.
I'm into it. Yeah, I do remember doing that to you.
You leaned Fabio's head back, and I definitely saw a little snot bubble.
Oh, did it pop in my hand?
No!
Coronavirus!
It was just there looking at me while I was looking. It's weird when you look at something inanimate and it looks back. That was what Fabio's booger was doing. And then he sucked it back in. It was like a horror movie. Where you see the monster just long enough to acknowledge that every fear that you had is true, because he's like, I am here and I am looking. And then he shot back up in the darkness. So you have a topic for us?
Yeah, what's your...
So 6.5, huh? Okay. So unfortunately, for all you audio and also visual listeners, we're gonna have to watchers. We're gonna have to cut out for a minute or so. Play a little thing. And,
Uh-oh.
and play a little song for you.
You got another
Little
song?
song? All right.
Yeah. Now you have me all self-conscious about my fucking.
It was very small. It was a very tiny little boogie.
Tiny, but it struck the fear of God into me.
Like Star Wars, the little Jawas. Imagine if one was a Cyclops, just a little tiny glowing booger eyeball.
What is he talking about?
I don't know.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
No clue what you're talking
It's like a
about.
little Jawa eye sitting there. Hey, I'm gonna sell you droids.
Okay, here we go.
All right, yeah, let's listen to this.
Okay. So that was a little song called Rise Above One. And it was a song in a musical.
Okay.
And the rest of... Okay, I don't know if I... Okay, so it was part of a bigger soundtrack.
6.5, man. Rise above.
Part of a soundtrack written by the rock band U2.
Okay.
For the musical, the Spider-Man musical.
There are so many elements of that just don't make fucking sense.
Wait, hang on. You and I talked about this.
Yeah.
Did we do that off cast?
Yeah, that was off cast.
That was off cast.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about this.
So the Spider-Man musical was called Into the Darkness, or Into the Darkness, I think, and it was I think it was like in 2010 or some shit like that. But the production started like earlier, and I'll tell you a little bit about the musical first. there was a bunch of like actors playing Spider-Man, but a bunch of them kept on getting hurt because they were like doing their own stunts and like actually swinging throughout the theaters and stuff. And so like it took a couple of years, I think, for them to finally actually get into Broadway and stuff. But yeah, fucking U2 wrote the soundtrack along
The
with
whole soundtrack?
yeah, along with like some other producers. But they
Did they
wrote the
record
whole,
and do all the song? Oh yeah, music and lyrics by Bono and the Edge.
yeah.
That is so...
And it's funny because I never brought this up to you guys, because for some reason I thought you guys because you guys know everything about superhero shit. That just for some
No.
reason I thought you guys knew.
Nope. I remember you and I talking about this, and
Yeah.
I was blown. And you're like, "Oh, this is everybody knows that U2 did the."
You were blown, huh?
Yeah, fucking thwip, blow me a Spider-Man nut. I don't know what I'm saying, but everything you said was right. 2010. I was just looking it up on my computer. 2010 production. 2011 was like the first air date, and there's a picture literally on Google. I just looked up Spider-Man musical, like fourth picture, and it's like 10 Spider-Men.
Yeah.
Just grown men in Spider-Man costumes.
There are so many... like here's the thing. Like all the different variables of this, I love. I love all of them. They don't make sense though. Like Spider-Man the musical.
Yeah.
I could go off about that.
I know you can.
Go off about it, dude.
But here's the
This is
thing.
why we're here.
But here's the thing. Things like that exist though. They have like, they probably have like Spider-Man on Ice. They have like
Probably,
the
yeah.
X-Men musical. Like shit like that just does exist and is a thing in the world. We just don't hear about it because nobody really gives a shit. So I'm not that surprised. But I just imagine Bono like sitting in a boardroom somewhere. And Stan Lee comes out in his fucking old crotchety, picture this, Bono, big fan. Picture the greatest superhero in the world, Spider-Man. Me, I made him. But confine him to like a 35-foot long stage. Have 10 different grown men swinging back and forth, risking their health and lives, not breaking their fucking spines, falling, so we can make Spider-Man, which exists in many other forms, probably in the best kind of forms it's ever been in, but a musical. And here's the thing, Bono. I want you. When I imagined Spider-Man, when I was developing him in the 50s or whatever, man, I was just drawing panels of him swinging through the city, and man, Bono, your voice was there with me the whole time. I just imagine you with the soundtrack of Peter Parker's life. This scrawny Manhattan nerd who got superpowers. Bono! What the fuck?
Yeah.
Well,
That's probably
YouTube's
how it went
fucking
down.
huge, so I guess I get that appeal. Let's strap a huge band and put on a huge superhero, and that'll work. And on Broadway, everybody loves Broadway.
For me, it's just like, you guys know the Tobey Maguire movies. You know that soundtrack to those movies? Like the big band, like orchestral, like heroic, upbeat orchestra music? Like that's
Spider-Man.
That's
music.
Spider-Man music, right?
Yeah.
It's like
U2 doesn't come to mind when thinking about that. Thinking about that soundtrack.
no, YouTube would
No.
do a good soundtrack for like Hawkman, like soaring through the sky. But it's just that's what I feel. That's what I picture YouTube with Hawkman. And no, take back Hawkman. He's too badass. Angel from the X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it had to
that's
be a
good.
little more
Just
That's
dainty.
good.
It had to be a little more
Yeah,
dainty.
I was
dainty.
thinking.
Yeah.
Hawkman's
thinking
not
dainty.
dainty enough.
Yeah.
Hawkman's got that fucking
Yeah.
mace axe,
He's
whatever.
got
I
the
he's got a
sub-
weapon. He's
zero,
too
whatever.
war heroed and stuff.
Yeah.
Angel though, he's just flying.
Yeah. He's just flying, no t-shirt on. Just
No t-shirt.
he's like a dove with arms and legs.
I just imagine a fucking like normal like
dove.
muscular human legs. On top of it is a tiny little dove, and then you just have arms sticking out
With normal sized
with
dove
normal
wings.
wings. Yeah.
Have you guys?
His arms just like swinging.
Have you guys seen the subreddit Birds with Arms?
Yeah, I've seen birds with
I
arms.
love it.
Have you seen helicopters with arms?
No.
Equally awesome.
So shit. Back to that musical though. I don't mean to jump on your parade.
No,
though.
you're good.
Several. I was just reading through the Wikipedia, skimming through it, and it was like delayed. So, it was. It had like the longest time in preview period. It had like 182 shows just in like, hey, there's a preview of it.
Holy shit! Are you kidding me?
And it.
That's a lot. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about musicals, but that sounds like a lot.
It sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
Imagine watching Spider-Man 182 times.
Excuse me. Critical reception of the opening was better than for the previews, but mixed, with praise for the visual effects, but little enthusiasm for the book and score.
For the book?
I don't know what the book
Is that what they call like the script for plays?
I guess so. Yeah.
Maybe. Sure. I can look that up.
Like a playbook?
The book.
I don't know anything about music. People who are into musicals are like, there's like a whole like musical culture out there.
Yeah, man.
There's a lot to it.
Book means script. Where
Book
the
means
dialogue
script.
and drama is contained. Okay, so it was mediocre in book and score. And it was the most expensive Broadway production in history.
I fucking bet
With
it
a
was.
budget of
Holy
$75 million.
Whoa! Is that more than the budget of Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire movie?
I can look it
Oh,
up.
please! I want it to. I want it to be. I don't think it is, but I want it to be so bad.
I don't
No,
know, man.
the Spider-Man budget was $139 million.
Oh.
That's still like way too close for comfort, though.
But that's like movie sets.
That takes like computer graphics and
And
like, yeah.
I'm not harping
paying
on like
Hollywood actors.
Broadway versus like the movies, but
Yeah.
75 million sounds like what's another big play? What's
Wicked.
Hamilton
Hamilton.
budget. Hamilton, 12.5 million.
That's like nothing.
Yeah.
That's a low
Compared
budget
to
movie.
75 million though for the Spider-Man one. It's probably all medical bills, honestly.
for all the Spider-Men that
And
were
lawsuits.
harmed.
Yeah.
11 Spider-Men were harmed in the making of this musical.
It allegedly also held the box office record for Broadway sales in 1 week, taking
This
in
is-
2.9 million over 9 performances.
This has so many like records, allegedly. Like, how the fuck have we never heard of that? Like, this seems like a
Wait.
bigger deal than.
But the last sentence in the Wikipedia
Uh-oh.
article at the top, the little intro and stuff, it says the production closed on January 4th, 2014, at a massive financial loss.
I bet.
Oh.
Yeah, 75 million. Yeah.
I don't
That's a
know
bummer.
what that loss was, but we'll say in the millions.
Yeah.
Oh man, we could go through. I don't know if I want to go through it. And it's a lot of reading. There's different acts. There's different versions.
What is it based
Version
on the
1
movies?
was from 2010 to 2011, and version 2 was in June 2011 and then 2014. So they changed it partway through. Oh my god. Sinister Six. It starts off with Green Goblin, and then he gets Carnage, Electro, Kraven, Lizard Swarm, and Swiss Miss.
There was,
You know, the
Yeah.
best Spider-Man villain.
you know, the hot chocolate.
He's allergic to it.
Peter Parker.
Man.
I'm gonna get all puffy.
That is so weird. This seems like. It seems so controversial. Like, again, I'm not involved in like the musical scene, but like this
Controversial
seems like
and convoluted and just not needing to be a thing.
No.
But I love it though.
oh, it's great.
I
All
love-
of it is great.
I love that they like took such a, it feels like it was such a risk, you know, and like looking at it now, hindsight, it was a risk and
They fucked up.
they fucked up. But I'm glad that they did, like, because I mean it was Marvel Studios. I'm sure they shelled out that 75.
Anybody who's on the audio, actually anybody who's listening to, I implore you to look up what the Sinister Six look like in this movie, because I won't be able to describe it, but
Yeah.
Whoa.
they are ridiculous.
Whoa.
Also, there's this nice aerial shot of Spider-Man on harnesses fighting Green Goblin, also on harnesses. See, we were thinking about all the Spider-Man people.
Click-
Look at all the
click
people
on
in
that
the
one.
villain costume.
Yeah,
that
and the
one.
villain costumes
that
have
one?
like more like
Holy
crazy ass shit.
shit.
Oh, this Kraven the Hunter is just a man in like in like caveman hunting clothes.
Yeah.
They're
And this guy's wearing a
elaborate.
full like bodysuit.
Yeah.
Holy
They're like
crap.
elaborate.
Oh, no, they're
though.
very elaborate.
Wow, very theatrical.
Yeah, 75 million, dude.
That's where it all went to, the costume design.
I like the Spider-Man costume is Tobey Maguire-esque.
It is very Tobey Maguire. Well, imagine they were trying to boost off of the success of those movies. Yeah, the Spider-Man suit looks exactly like Tobey
You say
Maguire's.
that, but like 2010 was like pretty far after.
Yeah.
When did Spider-Man 3 come out? I don't actually know.
I think 2006.
It was that. Oh,
I think.
oh, I feel old. Holy
Yeah.
shit, that's when the third one came
You're
out.
an old fan, dude.
Don't you get
Spider-Man
started.
3 came out in 2007. 2002 for the first one, 2004 for the second one. So,
Wow.
2 years and 4 years.
Oh, okay, 2 years and 4 years. Okay.
Sorry, 2 years, 3 years.
I think more movies need. You guys ever go back and watch those and they have like the intros with like the super elaborate like opening credits where it's like all.
Oh,
it's like
early
it's like all
2000s
CGI
and
shit, but it all looks like nowadays it looks like Windows 95 like screensavers.
Yeah.
It's like the web shooting and then it's like this high intensity music and then it's like the beginning 25 minutes of every Marvel movie that came out in the early 2000s is all like just rapid like it looks like a scrapbook.
Yeah.
It's just like a bunch of shots like overlaid on other shots in like different corners of the screen. Hulk was like that too.
I really like the. Yeah. Hulk was like
All
that.
action movies of that day and age were like camera
Yeah.
like pans and another 3D text pops at you and then it pans again and another 3D text as the background's all
I think we need to
different
bring that
levels
back.
of trippy.
That stuff's really
I'd be down
fun.
for that.
Well, what do they do in movies nowadays? Do they just? I mean, I guess it depends, but typically
Right
for
now we're like
action-
in big text. I think we're in the
don't we
big
just
text
go, though?
fucking era. Yeah,
We
we're
don't-
but like it.
we're no like we're not like produced by, directed by. That doesn't come up anymore, really, right?
I don't know.
I can't think of how they. do
It happened in. Yeah, it does happen. It does still happen. It's like less. It's less. It's less of a big deal. I feel like it's like the movie's happening and there's like scenes happening and it's like produced by. It's
They
like
do
in
that
the corners
TV a
and
lot,
stuff.
but that's to save time. I feel like they don't do that a lot for movie. Oh no, I guess they. I can't think of it.
most-
I honestly
I'm
cannot
just-
think.
The most recent example I can think of is Hateful Eight, where they introduce the entire
yeah,
credits in
well,
the beginning,
'cause
like
they
half
have,
hour
like,
of that movie.
30 minutes. To
Remember when you're
fucking-
seeing that carriage like just slowly trudge through the snow for like 3.5 hours?
Yeah, that was like the first hour and a half of that goddamn movie.
The movie's awesome.
Hateful Eight's
It's
got
so
some
good.
great acting, but oh my gosh, just shave off 35 minutes of that movie.
I love
it is
that
the
movie,
same
dude.
movie. It is still very good, and I can watch it in one sitting. There's an extended version on Netflix. That was on Netflix for a while,
sure
and it
there
was
was.
2 hour 40-minute parts. No, it was longer. It was 2 2-hour parts. It was like 4 hours of just watching cowboys sit in a cabin.
I'm down. I'm with it.
That is so.
I loved that movie,
It
dude.
is
That movie's
so
great.
much.
I feel I'm just speaking for action movies now today. Like I feel like it's aerial shot, big text with location,
Yeah, they do that.
and that's how
A
they
lot of
start now.
location shots,
there-
yeah.
There's
It's
no
like-
intro credits anymore.
No, it's always like Madrid, helicopter shot.
Yeah, there are a lot of those.
A lot of movies nowadays, I feel like are. It's not so much action movies, but it's kind of like Oscar bait movies, like movies that are kind of into themselves a little too much. It's always just like black screen, white text, directed by, movie title, and it just goes into the movie. It's like very short and like very non-elaborate.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Title screens aren't as big of a deal as I think they used to be. Because it used to be like you had to have like a big sweeping like block text would come in and just be like, it'd be like it fucking like come in at the screen at you too. It's like, oh fuck, okay, I guess I'm watching Ghost Rider 2 or whatever the fuck.
Was that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie we watched?
Total Recall.
Total Recall. Have you ever seen Total Recall?
No.
Oh, watch it. It's ridiculous.
have
It's
to
a
watch
romp.
it, dude.
It's
I've seen
so
scenes
good.
from it,
It
but
is
I've
so
never
good.
seen it.
Well, I've never seen it before. But we watched that, and the intro credits for that. And that movie came out in the 80s.
Late 80s, early 90s, I think. That time.
That
Well,
80s.
anyway, okay. A few decades ago. And the intro text for that was just a washed out, like, bright red wall almost. That was, like,
Yeah.
kind of edgy on the, like a red sun haze over Mars, because it's on Mars.
Yeah.
And it just had, like, text, like, come in. And
was
like that. It was
really
very gross. But back then, it was probably like, this is normal.
Oh.
Looks good.
That was probably like, oh shit, that like. But now that seemed like, oh, I could do that in fucking PowerPoint.
I feel like
I couldn't
a lot of
because my PowerPoint one would look better.
I feel like a lot of old horror movies had those intro texts where it was just like a solid color with like a different colored text, but it'd always play the loudest noise of, like, it would be like a clarinet or something just shrill and fucking like it's supposed to be scary, so it's supposed to be like loud and intense and kind of like get you uneasy, but it's, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like old Alfred Hitchcock movies used to just be like,
Yeah.
bah! And fucking play like something super loud and just be, oh fuck.
Yeah. Well, I think like for scary movies back then, because movies were still like a newer thing, it was easier to scare people because there was still that sense of like realism within a movie. Because just like 30 years, I mean, fucking like Alfred Hitchcock had only visual movies. Like he was old enough to like do those kind of movies to where there was no sound. So he was in that range to where you would just have something like, you would just have imagery of like a dude with a knife, and people would be like, shit, that dude's gonna do something with that knife, and then have that ding! And then people were like, fuck, and you show nothing, you show absolutely nothing, but everyone's like pissing their pants because there's like, they have that sense of like realism because they haven't experienced this medium.
Do you know
for, whatever.
Yeah, I feel like the illusion is still there for like a lot of the movies been out so long, and people are such movie snobs now that they watch movies and don't get the illusion. I do that with myself with a lot of horror movies. Mm-hmm. If they don't like have interesting enough characters to make me care, there's a lot of shitty horror movies out there that don't. So I can take myself out of it, and I'm like, oh, it's fake. That doesn't. I'm not real. I'm not invested anymore.
Yeah.
But it's only good if you're invested. So I feel like back then though, everything was just so new that they just didn't know what to expect. Like they didn't even realize Hitchcock could do the things and make people feel those things. Like people are still scared of birds from seeing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, dude, like Jurassic Park 2, that was a movie that freaked a lot of people out. Because that was just kind of like around the era where like CGI was getting like pretty convincing.
Yeah. Well, they had a lot of
depends.
They had a lot of like real.
They had animatronics too.
Animatronics,
Yeah, you're right.
Jurassic Park 2.
So
and that goes such a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As long
it
as you do
truly
that right.
does. God,
Effects, good practical effects.
Practical effects go a long way. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I feel like movies, as far as like genre-wise, movies that have just completely changed how they, like the formula of what makes like a good horror movie has changed so much more than like any other genre. Because like dramas and like action movies and like comedies, romances, that sort of thing, I feel like they're definitely still products of the time, but just like formulaic. I don't know if this is translating at all or if I'm like making any goddamn sense, but like horror movies are so much different nowadays than they used to be. Comparatively to like other genres, I feel like horror movies are just like absolutely just 100% different.
In what ways?
Well, if you think about it, like Fabio was saying, like Alfred Hitchcock could show like a lady taking a shower, and there'd be like a guy with a picture of his like hand with holding a knife, and then you could see like a little blood trickle out. And it's like, oh shit, that lady's dead. Like that's fucking scary. And like the birds and just, I'm thinking mainly Alfred Hitchcock, but like old horror movies kind of were a little bit more. They didn't show a whole lot because special effects weren't quite there, so it was more of just like assuming and kind of like giving you context clues as to what happened, and maybe showing you like the after effects, or like a police comes in, it's like, oh my god, she's been moited. But
moited.
But and then there was
What?
like the 80s and 90s that were like super slasher heavy. It's like Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, like Chucky, all that kind of shit. Candyman, all that stuff was like super relevant, like the 80s and 90s, like slasher, like blood and gore were like the scary things. That was like what made movies scary in that era. And nowadays it's like you get a mix of a lot. Like for me, we've talked about this before. I don't know if it's ever been on the cast, but like horror movies for me have more like it just feels like everybody's trying to make a horror movie. Like amateur directors are always trying to make like horror slasher movies, and they're all not all of them. A lot of them are so bad. It feels like it's easier to make a shitty horror movie than it is to make a shittier any other kind of genre movie. But like nowadays, you get a lot of what makes a good horror movie nowadays. Not again, this is dependent on the movie, but a lot of the good horror movies I've seen nowadays are kind of just like movies that aren't really objectively in your face scary. Like, oh my god, there's a guy with a knife and he's chasing me. Or like, oh my god, like there's like spooky noises coming out of the closet. It's a ghost or a demon or whatever. Like for me, it's like the psychological shit, kind of like the slow burn, make you feel very uneasy from the get-go. And that's like a combination of like context, like what's going on in the actual plot, like sound and like music design is like extremely important and kind of making you feel that like deep-seated just like dread. But for me, a lot of like successful nowadays horror movies are just like not even like I wouldn't even use scary as the right word, just like slow burn, like shit just keeps going wrong and gets like unsettling and like disturbing.
Yeah.
Which I feel like isn't something that would have... Again, for me, it's just like horror movies like just change so drastically, like decade to decade. It's just insane. I don't know.
I think there's like what you were saying about the how there's just a lot of horror movies and a lot of people doing horror movies. But with like a lot of even with the bigger well-known movies, but I think exclusively for like the smaller movies, like they find like a little idea that they like really like, and they use that as a crutch for the whole movie. Like one example is there's this movie called Hush, I think, and it's this girl, and she's mute, living in a place, and this dude is like fucking with her in like a mask or whatever. But it just relies on that she's mute so much. You know, the whole movie is
so
just
she like can't
about
scream
her
or call
being
for help.
mute. Yeah.
I know, I've seen the movie that you're talking
And
about.
then
I can't
there's-
remember what it's called either.
I feel like there's a bunch of those movies to where it's like they just rely on one fucking thing the whole movie.
It's one
like
trope for
gimmicky
an hour and a
horror
half.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty gimmick. Yeah, I mean,
Well, I
I
mean,
mean,
There
I
are
don't know.
movies that take that and like are successful. Like
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
that
No,
one movie where it's like the kids break into the blind guy's house. It's like Stephen Lang, I think his name is.
I'm gonna look that up.
Fuck, I don't remember. But like A Quiet Place 2 is another one. Where it's,
Yeah.
I guess it's more of like a monster movie, but
Yeah.
horror, I guess.
No, I'm
but...
not saying that they like do bad, but I'm saying that there's ones that do well and ones that do bad. But I never really like those movies because they're hinging on that one idea.
Don't
so
Breathe.
much.
That's when you're thinking of
Don't Breathe. is
Don't
what I'm thinking
Breathe.
of, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But they're hinging on that one idea so fucking much, and it's like I get it. Fuck you. Let's move on.
Well, that's why horror
That's
movies in a
valid,
short
yeah.
film format would be
Yeah.
probably better, and if they're gimmicky like that.
Well,
Yeah.
dude, a lot of short story. Well, a lot of horror writers used to be like. I'm saying that. I'm saying this, but I really am not like super educated. I just know like H.P. Lovecraft was a guy in like the early 1900s, late 1800s who was like a very successful horror writer at the time. But because he wrote short shit, and again, he would write like novelized. Well, like Stephen King too. He's like one of the biggest names in horror ever, and he has like a lot of just like short stories. So I think you're right. I think horror is like, as far as like a format for delivering like effective horror, short stories are good, especially for gimmicky shit like that. Because yeah, you can only use a gimmick for so long before it gets old, or you kind of just tap the well
Well,
too
you need
much.
a little dynamic. You know, given. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Horror movies get me. It's not my favorite genre by any means, and there's only been a few horror movies that I actually like. And we've talked about this, the cast, but the horror movies that I could think of like right now on the top of my head are I like Jordan Peele's two movies, Us and Get Out. I just think it takes anything from like slasher and like psychological horror and just brings it up to just an A game level, which is what I think he does very good job. And yeah, I like the struggle with like Get Out, where he's trying to get out and stuff, but they just do a good job of just like roping you in and all that. And I haven't seen the movie in a minute, I can't really harp on it. But my favorite horror movie, maybe my favorite horror movie, is the new It Chapter 1.
It's really
and the
good.
reason I like it is because, spoiler alert, it's been out for fucking ever, so is the old one, and so is the book. But the kids win in the end. The kids are sitting there, they're struggling. It's very, very scary. They come together, and then it's really scary, and then they have to figure out and overcome shitty things in their life to beat the monster. And I don't necessarily need them to like beat the monster in horror movies, because I know a lot of times the good guy just dies at the end. But the good characters, that dynamic struggle, made me root for them, and also it's just it's a good story.
Yeah.
It's like the same with Get Out too. The guy gets stuck, he gets trapped, and then he like, you think you're like, he's fucked. He's absolutely fucked. And then he just barely climbs his way out.
Yeah.
And his like friend happens to like come and pick him up. And his friend almost gets like, can't remember the end. But I need a little stakes. There was one horror movie that I remember watching, and it was one of those shitty amateur more horror films. And I think we all watched it way back in college. And it's this group of people, and they're ghost hunters. And they're filming a ghost hunting show, but they don't believe in any of it. Maybe one of them does, but most of them don't believe in it. And they decide to stay overnight in an insane asylum. And then they start like seeing weird shit. Horror movie progresses. They're getting haunted, and they're like, "Oh fuck!" And you're like, "Oh fuck!" And then they make their way around the place after like a couple of them have been whacked, and they climb up the stairs to get up to the roof. And when they get up to where the door should be, it's just a wall of bricks, and it's just more wall basically, and they can't get out. And that happens maybe like halfway through the movie, I would say, maybe 3/4, maybe a third. I don't remember. Midway through the movie. And then I instantly snapped out of any believability I had of like being invested in the film. And I was like, they're fucked. They're not surviving. They're all gonna die. And I laughed the rest of the movie because there was no points, there was zero stakes, and I didn't care. And that to me, doesn't matter how well you did in your shots in your horror film, the writing in that moment is shit because I've instantly invested out of the characters.
Because you already know that there's like zero chance that anyone's gonna get out alive, right?
As soon as I realize you cannot get out and there's no escape, and I'm just going to watch basically people get scared and tortured the rest of the movie, I'm not invested anymore. It is not worth my time.
You're right. That's also very common in horror movies. Even there's a lot of horror movies that are like the good guy wins in the end. When it's like, oh, the bad guy's not dead, gotcha! And then the good guy dies, and they're just like, oh, that's boring.
Yeah. And I know there's that psychological thing of you're not supposed to get out. That's just, you just have to deal, you're like, I know a lot of horror movies, like they're capitalizing on that one section of horror. You're getting chased by a bad guy. You're getting haunted by the bad guy, the monster or whatever. And so they're trying to harp on that. And it doesn't really matter what happens at the end, at the beginning. It's just what's happening there. That's the movie. That's the content and stuff. And I disagree. I think that makes a shallow story in some aspects.
You're right.
I think there's good ways to do it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Horror movie is not my genre. This is kind of what I've taken away from just seeing little bits of it. And I kind of want to go back and watch a lot of those old slashery films just to appreciate it. And they're almost like campy in like a comic booky kind of way. You're just like, hey, there's fucking Jason and Freddy and they're gonna kill you, and you're just kind of watching like, what's that one where everyone dies? The horror movie. It's specifically like they get in a plane crash but all survive, and then it's like elaborate deaths, and you're watching.
Final Destination.
Final Destination. It's like those movies.
God, those movies.
And there's no stakes. You're just watching it, and I think I have not appreciated the campiness of the older horror slasher movies and stuff. Yeah. And
God,
I think there's gems in the horror genre, but it's not my favorite genre. And I think I do need to visit it more and dabble because I think there's good shit that I've not seen. But there needs to be a story. Is my point. Yeah. There's no story sometimes. Well, it sucks.
That's the whole.
I hate it, and it's a bad movie.
That's the whole point of movies. Is in general they're there to tell stories, and if the story's boring or you already know what's going to happen a third of the way through the movie, then it's fucking boring. But here's what I think, Tommy. I agree with you. Horror movies like that are very it's kind of like a fart in the wind. It's just like, oh, whatever. Like, I know they're just going to die in the end. And now the asylum's going to stay open and people are going to keep dying and going in there. But what I think is effective about movies like that, I remember watching that movie and being like, there are certain things specifically in that movie. Another movie that comes to mind is I can't remember what, it was like 2014 or something, Blair Witch, the new one.
The second one?
No. Well, because there's Blair Witch 1 and Blair Witch 2, and then there was like the reboot. It was like 2014, 2016, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But
I thought that
in
was
that movie, they're like in the
the
woods,
third one?
and they're like walking in like one direction. They're not like going in circles or getting lost or anything. They're walking like straight north for like 2 hours, and then they end up in their camp that they used to be at. And in that asylum movie, they're like walking around for like hours, and they just end up back where they started. Or they're looking at a map, and it's like, okay, there should be a door here, and there's no door there. Or there is a door, but it like leads to stairs that go nowhere or whatever. And in both of those movies, they had a thing that I really liked, which is it's like 8 or 9 hours of people like wandering around, scary shit happening, and someone like looks out the window and is like, it should be light out right now, right? It's like 5 a.m, like the sun should be rising, and it just never does. See, that's what I think those movies kind of capitalize on. Not to say that it's like that's what makes like a good horror movie at the end of the day, but it's just like throwing scary concepts at you. Like imagine walking through just a nightmare place, like an abandoned insane asylum, or like the woods at night where it's like you're hearing creepy noises, and then it's just you're just praying to God that the sun rises eventually, and it just doesn't. Like for me, that's like conceptually that's scary as fuck, and that's kind of effective in terms of like for me at least, just like thinking conceptually about things, being like, that's fucking scary. I wouldn't want to be in that situation at all. No, thank you. No. But again, things like that are banking, like you said, too much on the gimmick. And while it is a cool idea and a scary idea, that doesn't mean it's good. Because it's just like kind of being like, oh, this is a scary thing. Tell me I'm good.
Yeah.
Or shit like that.
Because then you need to rely on good writing.
Good characters,
Good characters.
which I think it does really well, because you know all of those kids in that the Losers Club. I just rewatched it, chapter 1 and 2 of the new ones, and they're pretty good, just because
I didn't like the second one.
the second
so
one
much
was
lukewarm.
oh god, that
Compared to the
final battle is like 45 minutes longer than it needs to be.
The whole movie is 45 minutes long.
It's so long, but
I still thought about the kids overcoming that. I feel more
well, it's just
not relatability, because I didn't fight a clown monster when I was 10. But like, I'm rooting for the kids more than the adults, and not really. Well, the second one was just worse. This just was worse.
it was worse, yeah. Good
Stephen-
cast, but
Stephen King also, fucking that guy's nuts, man. I've never read his books and stuff, but I've seen a few like of his books to movies kind of thing, and they're all fucking whack.
do you guys want to know about a short story of Stephen King's? I didn't read it, but I read a synopsis of it. It's called Trucks. And it's about sentient semi-trucks coming to life and just mowing people down.
So Constantine.
And it's this group of very boring white
Caroline?
people
What was it?
stuck in
Constantine.
Yeah, there's a movie of like way back when it was a car that came to life and just started.
Herbie Fully Loaded.
Yeah, with
Lindsay
Keanu
Lohan.
Reeves. Oh, sorry, Lindsay Lohan.
I was about to say
They're very interchangeable.
Lindsay McGuire,
Lindsay McGuire. Yeah, her too.
Susan McGuire.
But yeah, it's these trucks that come to life, and they're just mowing people down, and eventually there's people like stuck in a gas station, and they're eventually noticing like some trucks are like running out of gas. So one truck like comes up to the window of the convenience store and he starts honking in Morse code, and he's like, "Fill us up, you mortals!" And then the people are like, "Well, if we don't fill them up, they're just gonna run us over and kill us." They just start filling the trucks up. It's like, no, just go up a hill, and then they can't.
Wait, they filled him up? The truck was like,
Here's the
I
synopsis.
can't move. I'm gonna get you. So you need to put gas in my tank so I can get you. Yeah. No.
At some point, they're like filling up trucks all day, and there's like miles long of just trucks coming to get their gas tanks filled up. And there was a guy thinking about like, I think the synopsis that I read, the story ends with a guy thinking about like, holy shit, these trucks are gonna take over the earth, and they're gonna keep humans alive just to fill them full of gas, and they're gonna make robotic fully automated like machine lines that are just gonna manufacture more sentient trucks. And I'm like, it's a truck! How's it gonna do any of that? Just run up a hill! Trucks are very heavy and they have terrible traction up inclines. Run up a hill and you're fine. Just wait for them to run out of gas and go on. It was so stupid, but very entertaining.
This is a real
This is a
story?
real thing.
I'm gonna look
Stephen
it up.
King.
Stephen
wrote
King
this?
is
garbage.
Stephen, you're kind of a legend and a lot of people like you. My man's like, what is up?
Stephen King's trucks story.
Stephen
Plot
King's
summary.
nuts,
Wikipedia. Here we go.
Okay.
The story's narrator and a handful of strangers find themselves trapped together in a freeway truck stop dinner after semi-trailers and other large vehicles suddenly brought into independent life by an unknown force and proceed to gruesomely kill every human in sight. Cars which remain unaltered are swiftly battered into wreckage, and pedestrians are massacred by rampaging trucks and buses. You are not fucking kidding me.
No, this is the thing.
Some characters. Sorry, I'm trying to skim through this, so I'll just read the Wikipedia article.
That's all good.
It's so fucking
While in the
It's so
employees'
stupid.
restroom is inside the diner, the men's and ladies' room are by the outdoor gas station. Narrator attempts to gather fresh. Okay, all right.
But here's the thing. This is the thing, though. This is a gimmick. Stephen King was like, yo, what if trucks just came to life all of a sudden and started mowing people down? Objectively, pretty fucking scary, but not a good story.
Sometime later, a glimmer of hope appears when the trucks begin to run out of gas and a few literally stand still from lack of fuel. An enormous semi-truck noses up to the diner and starts blasting its horn erratically. Jerry remembers from his time from the Boy Scouts and the horn blast from Morse code. Oh my god, this is exactly everything you said. What the fuck is this? And translate the trucks demanding humans start pumping fuel. The trucks assure they will not attack people who refuel them. The narrator is outvoted when he suggests they comply with this, and the bulldozer arrives and proceeds to attack the diner. Narrator and Jerry destroy the bulldozer with Molotov cocktails, but the diner's half destroyed, blah, 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 blah. The remaining 3 humans surrender and taking turns start pumping gas in the mile-long string of waiting trucks. When the narrator exhausts the fuel reserve from the truck stop's gas station, a fuel tanker arrives to replenish the fuel cisterns. And when he's all done, thinks to himself, perhaps the only last truck on a fuel. Yet new generations of trucks aided by construction vehicles and tanks, doing great after it's literally the trucks take over. Is his fear, the narrator's fear. The story ends as a pair of planes fly overhead, and the narrator laments, "I wish I could believe there are people in them." The story has been adapted into 2 films. In 1986, it was adapted for cinema with the King's Direct Maximum Overdrive. In 1997, it was adapted again as the TV movie Trucks, starring some people who made a considerably small budgets. Holy shit.
We watching Trucks tonight? Or Maximum Over?
It's a... What's the...
That's such a stupid name.
Maximum.
That's the next Fast and Furious movie is what that should be.
Man.
See, what I was hoping for in the Wikipedia article, that they would reference some, like, oh, this is the deeper meaning of it, and et cetera, et cetera. And then I'd be like, oh, I'm on board and stuff.
No, dude.
It's literally not there.
It's just
It's
trucks
just
coming to
trucks.
life. It's just trucks coming to life and running people over.
So, was the reason... So
Don't
I...
think about.
Yeah,
You're gonna
it's
you're
not-
gonna have a stroke.
This
dude.
is
No, so-
not... There's no depth to this,
No.
dude. It's just trucks.
No, we gotta break this shit down.
No,
right?
we don't.
So the
We
trucks,
don't.
The trucks,
Gah.
the trucks need people.
Yeah.
The trucks need people to keep them up.
Yeah.
They're like, why did they kill people in the first place? Were they like, we're sick of being the slave trucks. We don't want to be slaves to humanity, and they just start running people over?
Yeah, dude.
And they're like, well, shit, we actually need humanity, so if you fill us up, we won't kill you.
Yeah, dude.
So there's a truck-human symbiosis.
Yeah, dude.
So does it just go back to normal then?
No. Humans are slaves, dude.
Ah, so we're the slaves to the vehicles. That's the
Why
point.
can't you run
That's
up a
the point.
mountain or a place without roads, wait it
Because
out,
the planes will get
and
you.
come back down, and then just don't make... Here's the thing. Cars aren't coming to life. Cars are fine. It's just big vehicles.
Well, that sounds like...
Make small little Priuses for everyone to drive, and then you're fine.
I mean, the planes will get you.
Oh, that's it.
Oh, that's true.
He
the
was
planes.
talking. He was talking about fuel and our overconsumption of gasoline.
It's gonna
Go
come to
to
bite us in the ass.
Ah.
Get yourself a Prius or a green vehicle, this is not gonna happen.
Is that whole like the fuel is the bad, the fuel is the
Yeah, because the big trucks, semi trucks, the planes, other things, get the Priuses, and it'll all be fine. It'll all be good.
Fabio,
it'll be gooch.
That's a
Get the
great.
Nissan Leaf. if
Thanks
you
for
want.
clearing that up.
Yo, that's a great theory. Here's what I think happened.
Yeah.
I'm Stephen King. I'm gonna be Stephen King real
Okay,
quick.
be Stephen King.
Hey, welcome to the Is for Fun podcast there, Stephen King.
Oh shit, Stephen.
Steven.
Oh dang.
Really? Save some for the rest of us.
Dang. Oh.
Oh.
Dang. All right.
So that's all one breath. Dang.
Ah, interesting. Weird that you do the same thing for the same. Okay.
You guys ever think like, if trucks were alive?
You ever think if trucks were alive? No.
No, Steven. No, Steven.
I mean, I guess Transformers is already a movie.
What?
Hey, same with cars, dude.
Cars.
That bitch Michael Bay.
What if Cars opened up and it was like a Stephen King? All characters.
Lightning McQueen just mows down like humans.
Trucks is the prequel to Cars.
Damn.
Think about it.
Because there's no humans in cars.
Yeah, the cars figured out how to fuel themselves,
Do you guys?
and they didn't need the humans anymore.
No, for real. Do you guys know about the Disney timeline where it's like every
about it.
no, it's the Pixar where like every Disney Pixar movie is connected.
connected.
Like Wall-E, Cars, Toy Story, like Bugs Life. All of those are like in a conveniently stretched out like timeline. It's actually like reasonably convincing. Incredibles is in there too, I think.
Yep.
You should look it up. It's real weird.
I don't want to. We don't have enough time to dive into that because it's been about an hour on the Is for Fun podcast episode. Well, it doesn't matter what number it is. Anyone listening should definitely look that up though. It is get your tinfoil hat all put on and stuff because it's a little out there. But yeah, there's similar brands across all the movies and similar references and stuff. And it's literally just the studio referencing it, but people have pieced those together to make a narrative.
Is it though?
It doesn't matter because we're done for this episode of the Is for Fun podcast. I've been Tommy.
I'm in Sam.
I'm Fabio.
And thank you for listening. Remember, check us out on YouTube. We're on audio platforms if you're watching video. We're on YouTube platforms if you're watching or listening on audio. Yeah. And we'll check you out next week.
Woo! I need a beer. Anyone need a beer?
Yeah, I need to do.
Yeah, I need a beer.
All right. What are we thinking? Is that it? Do we want to go more?
Hey, thanks for watching the Is for Fun podcast. You did it. You made it to the end. You made it all the way to the end, you fucking jackass. We love you though. Thank you for watching us on YouTube though. We have some other content. You should check it out on our channel. We are also on Spotify and iTunes if you just want to listen instead of looking at our beautiful faces, or if you want to listen and also watch our content, that would be also dope. Check us out on social media for some extra behind the scenes content. And thanks again. See you later. Hit that bell to be notified. And hit subscribe to be notified as well. And then hit like because you fucking liked our shit. Thank you. Have a nice day.